All right, Pecos on the move. It's Monday. It is July 27th. We hope you had a good weekend. Welcome to Monday, and welcome to our program, Mr. Jimmy Dutchover. He is Executive Director of the Pecos Economic Development Corporation, standing by live in the studio here this morning. Jimmy, hope you had a good weekend.
I did, Bill. Hopefully you and your wife had a chance to sit down and enjoy the warm weather. Sooner than later, we're going to get some of that spring weather or that fall weather, and I'm looking forward to it as well.
That's right. Well, it was certainly a warm one over the weekend. It looks like the heat wave is going to continue, and we have the heat advisories in effect for the area. We want everyone to stay hydrated, take the necessary precautions, check on the elderly. That's very, very important on these extremely hot days. Make sure they have plenty of fresh water and cool water, and of course, air conditioning is so important. And then, of course, those outdoor pets. Don't forget the pets.
Correct.
Yeah, so make sure they have a shady place to stay and some cool water. All right, Jimmy, thank you for joining us here this morning, and we do have several things that we're going to talk about here this morning, but first of all, we're going to talk about corporate headquarters versus industrial facilities. And Jimmy, why do so many companies choose rural West Texas for their industrial investment?
You know, Bill, that's a great question. We see for so long, and especially when we've gone through this oil expansion, the natural gas obviously goes to Waha, and it's refined at that facility. Mm-hmm. But it's the corporate offices that dictate where these industrial facilities are actually going to be placed. We look at, over the last few weeks, you and I have been talking about the Pecos Power Plant, mm-hmm. Core Scientific, even Chevron, Microsoft, the Roadrunner project with Infinium. You know, it goes on and on and on, and as far as the projects go. But those are industrial facilities. They have nothing to do with the corporate headquarters, and those corporate headquarters are typically in the metropolitan areas. But what our community leaders have done with the tax abatement, mm-hmm. and maybe one group a little bit better than the other, because, you know, out in the county you have more projects going on than the one like what we have in Pecos Power Plant number 1 and 2, and then also a few others. But keep in mind, the abatements that they have asked for, whether it comes from the Commissioner's Court or from the City Council, under the advice that we've given them, what we have asked them to do is that those groups that are coming in from the corporate community, and if they're going to bring their industrial facilities, they're going to have to invest in Pecos, Texas, with a long-term goal of creating a better census. In other words, people that are being paid from Reeves County. Mm-hmm. Because you and I both know we don't have an unemployment rate of 4 or 5 or 6%. Mm-hmm. What we have is maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 6% of the people that cannot work in the jobs that we have right now.
Right.
So the long answer to this situation is getting those individuals that want to take our natural resources, want to be out here in our community, to invest in greater amounts of money, and that means keeping an administrative office here, possibly a subsidiary, and then eventually into a corporate office.
So why aren't corporate headquarters the only measure of economic success?
You know, corporate headquarters are often run in the metro areas like I talked about. But, you know, it creates jobs. So, you know, we think of the decision makers. Mm-hmm. Those are typically individuals that have degrees in finance, law, management, and in some areas even advertisement. You know, they're trying to put their package and their message out there. Mm-hmm. But those aren't the groups that come and do the work out here in our area, Bill. Mm-hmm. So when we create these jobs and we generate the investments, they support the local business owners. A prime example, you and I were talking last week about some of the job fairs that are going on. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they don't even know where to go and advertise these jobs that are going to be created. We put some out in the paper. You've done a great job out here at KIUN and KTPX and letting the people know that there's individuals that have job fairs going on. We have to make sure that they are connected with you. The individuals that can put out that message and let the locals know exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. And as quickly as they can, because sometimes we get only a week notice. Right. And when the paper only runs once a week, you know, if they're going to put something in, it may not happen until after the fact. With KIUN and KTPX, we're able to give it to you right away and say, hey, can you do us a favor and make this public announcement? So.
Right, and we've had several recently. The job fair that happened at the Civic Center, for example, on Friday morning, we announced that, and we've got several companies that are actively hiring for CDL drivers and so forth. And so, we're here and we serve the area, and of course we do welcome those recruiting ads, job fairs, and so forth. Now, what advantages does Pecos have, Jimmy, that the larger cities do not? That's a good question there.
That one is living in both the metropolitan area, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then out here in West Texas, and even in San Antonio. I will tell you, I will gladly take the West Texas area any given time.
Amen.
The commutes are just so much shorter. You every once in a while, you get behind an 18-wheeler. But they're at least going 55, 60, 70 miles an hour, whatever it may take.
Right.
And, we don't have passing lanes. But it's the commute so often, Bill. Right. People, such as the individuals that come in from Midland, Odessa, or from Monahans, or from Fort Stockton, they're in the thousands of people that come into our community every day versus the ones that are living here at the man camps or at the hotels or apartments or corporate housing, whatever it may be. But it's the commuting that it makes it so successful for so many of these groups. Now, once we get the commute situated or the housing situated, then we hope that those individuals will live here and not be one of the commuters. Let someone else do it. And we hear so often in my office where we have a group that'll come in and say, we finally found a house. We finally found an apartment. We finally found a rental that we can, that my family can move down here. Because no one wants to be away from their family for 7 days, 7 on, 7 off, 10 on, 10 off. Then the 21 days of working and then 14 days off. There's just a bunch of different shifts. So, ours is housing, but we got to fix the commuter component first so that people want to stay in Pecos, Texas.
All right. Now, can rural communities compete with larger cities for future investment?
Bill, that one is probably the toughest question that I've heard from anyone yet. And let me give you an answer that I think can explain it. We in West Texas and in the state of Texas, we reference a gentleman by the name of Ray Perryman, a doctor of economy. That is he's notorious for understanding the pros and cons of not only the oil and gas industry, but all over corporate USA and Texas, and its impact. And a study that he started in 2017 and completed in 2019, if I recall correctly, indicated that by the year 2035, our population would be as high as 35 to 40,000 people. That's the population. We already have that, but we're talking about people that actually reside here. So when I read that report and Charles Lino and my board at the Economic Development Corporation had a chance to really study these type of things, it's long-term planning. The short-term planning doesn't work out for anybody. You have a restaurant that goes into business because they're a good cook. And they've been a great cook, but does that make them a great manager of the facility and understand all the requirements? Now, yes, some of the mom and pops become very successful. La Norteña is going to complete, I think, their 60th anniversary going on here in the next, or this week, if I remember correctly. But you ask yourself, how do we get the groups that can grow our community and want to be a part of it? Sometimes it's franchises. Sometimes it's just location, having an opportunity for people in the small business to grow to be a medium-sized business and then a large-sized business. But for that growth to occur, we got to believe in ourselves. We have to continue to have and pray that we have great governmental leaders that understand the vision of tomorrow, not just for today and how we maximize something. That's just bad planning. We have to think about what we're going to do for the future. And that Ray Perryman report that I referenced, indicated that those populations are going to grow. We also know that the school district has planned for about a 10% growth in their school attendance or their school population, and that's great. But what I talked about is doubling the size. that is what that report indicates.
And by the way, you can hear Dr. Perriman's reports on a regular basis on our TSN Midday Report that airs Monday through Saturday on KIUN 1400 AM. So I wanted to put a little plug in there, but I hear Dr. Perriman's reports on a regular basis. So,
and that's something I would encourage the listening audience to take, to really focus on, because it's just not me. And Dr. Perriman is typically talking about the state of Texas. Sometimes he references West Texas, and that's great.
He does.
But, Bill, so many people, they think about the good that we have out here in Pecos, Texas. That's not happening out statewide.
Mm-hmm.
It's really focused on this area because we've done a great job. The Economic Development Corporation, working with the city, working with the county, working with all the other taxing entities, we've done a great job of sitting down and putting our name out. Who would have thought 3 years ago that the Economic Development Corporation would spend any money trying to get a videographer, a storyteller out here, putting on commercials for us.
Mm-hmm.
And those things right there have to help promote Pecos, because you hear about it and you're like, it's just an old little West Texas town. What could be there? They go on to the internet and they look and they see the pictures of the images that come across.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't tell the story of what's going on right now, Bill.
Right. Let's look at the bigger picture now. What makes rural West Texas such an important part of the state of Texas' future?
We always knew, Bill, that there was going to be resources out here tied to natural gas. We have an abundance of water that is subsurface, so you don't get evaporation. And corporate USA understands that. They're like, okay, you got a lot of land out there. You have a lot of infrastructure that goes on. You have the ability to recruit, because we've done a great job of pitching Pecos and our county to other people. And Monahans to the east of us, and Fort Stockton to the west of us, and Van Horn to the west. I mean, we're blessed. Even Hobbs, we were referencing it earlier, to the north of us. We think of these communities that are thriving or have the opportunity to thrive, but have they done a great job of pitching their community and their community leaders in a business-friendly environment? So, we're doing it not only at a local level, at a regional level, at a state level, at a federal level, but with some of the industries that we're bringing in, they're international, Bill. We're not talking about just bringing in a company that is originated here in Texas. We're recruiting companies outside that need our industries, that need our resources, that need our workforce, that need large amounts of land. Mm-hmm. We are recruiting them, and we've been blessed because they're listening, and those videos, those commercials that we've sent, they've played a big role in what we're doing.
You're listening and they're responding.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The future of Texas depends not only on its major cities then, but of course also on strong rural communities that continue to create opportunity and drive economic success. So
yes,
so
sir.
Important.
Bill, we really have to continue to identify the fact that we have people that want to work. We have people that want to commute or relocate to Pecos. But we also have to realize that we have to have housing. And that is where I think the biggest focus needs to be. When we start the housing component, it's not a gloom and doom story. It is actually something that I hope our community leaders focus on as we grow our tax base, that we invest back in finding residential areas that we can grow.
Something that works hand in hand with economic development, of course, is transportation. And the TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, is conducting a public hearing to receive comments on the proposed formation of an RMA. Now, what is an RMA? That is a Regional Mobility Authority. Reeves County Regional Mobility Authority is what's being proposed, a formation here of this RMA. And this is going to be a public hearing that's coming up this week, right?
That is correct. Bill, we've always talked about a loop that has to exist for us to attract businesses and then keep our community safe. 285 is great, but it took me 7 minutes to get from my office a block away down here. Mainly, and I waited a little bit, but there was a big haul that was coming in that was going north on 285. And yes, it had the proper leadership and, the tail end of letting everybody know that it was a wide load. But that regional mobility authority gives the authority or allows the opportunity for the governor to appoint a committee to basically act like your own little district for certain projects. And that regional mobility authority bill will help us create that loop. We've been at it for almost a year and a half, 2 years, a year and a half already. We work closely with the city. They're one of the partners in the county. A gentleman by the name of David Garcia, who is an executive director of an RMA down in the valley, is the group that is leading us. So we're looking forward to having him here on Wednesday.
All right, very good. And that will be from 5 till 7 p.m. Wednesday, July 29th at the Reeves County Civic Center, 1500 South Cedar. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to attend. So.
Yeah, Bill. We want the people to know what we're trying to do, and grow the community the way that our not only their predecessors but our current leaders have asked us to try and work out these problems.
All right. Anything as far as retail is concerned? I know we talked quite a bit in recent programs about housing and the development that is going on and being planned for our community in the future. Anything retail-wise that you can share this morning, Jimmy?
Bill, we brought up you were talking and asking me the land right by Texan. There is a transmission line, a water transmission line that needs to be connected underneath the interstate. So once that's done, then that area is going to be almost prepped and ready to go. We have a commercial realtor that we're working with that is helping us with eateries. One gentleman came down from an area outside the state of Texas to look at a location, and he's needing 20 to 40,000 square feet of space to put up his facility. So yeah, we're working in the right direction, and it seems like it's slow, but we're trying to be proactive, because if we get the pads ready, then all we have to do is work on the builders and getting the contractors out here.
All right, very good. Well, Jimmy, we want to thank our behind-the-scenes crew here. We have Lila Gonzalez. She's an executive assistant for you there at the PEDC, and office manager. Lila, thank you for being here this morning. They're videotaping our interview. And Alexandra Navarrete is here, and she is one of our interns this summer, right?
That's correct. Alex will be leaving back to College Station here in the next couple of weeks. We look forward to having her back during the holiday season, so she can take over and we can take a break. It doesn't seem like it, Bill, but 3 years ago is when I took over full time, and I haven't had a vacation that's been longer than a weekend. So I need some time off, and we're working at that. So hopefully after today's meeting, and then this week of visits that we have some from guests coming in, then I'll be able to take a little bit of time off.
All right, and I know you are always very appreciative of your staff. You have a great support staff there.
They've come a long way. We've done a great job of training them, and Lila's done a great job of working with interns and teaching them what we want them to know.
All right, very good. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming in and sharing with our community this morning. We're doing these updates for the community on Monday mornings at 8:05 a.m. right here on KIUN 1400 a.m., so be sure and tune in. We also are replaying the interview on Saturday mornings around 9:15, 9:20 on Saturday mornings. That's on 98.3 FM. And, Jimmy, they can also view the interview on your website.